Again, today we're going to go over some different tax planning strategies we use a lot of times with ConocoPhillips employees. But before I get started, again, I just want to remind everybody that if you have any questions throughout this webinar, feel free to put those in the Q&A box. We'll be sure to address those at the end of the webinar. And keep in mind your information is fully anonymous. Also, we'll be putting some information in the chat box, different items like how to reach us on LinkedIn or get the next webinar information, things like that. And then, as always, the retirement group, we're not employed by nor affiliated with ConocoPhillips. With that, I just want to go ahead and remind everybody who doesn't know exactly who we are. Again, the retirement group, we're an independent financial advisory firm that focuses on working with corporate employees and helping them transition into retirement. We've been doing this for almost 30 years, and we work with about 20 some odd different companies, and obviously ConocoPhillips is one of those. The reason we choose to work with a select few companies is it allows us and our advisors to have a deeper understanding of your benefits plans inside and out, so we have a better way of actually holding your hand through that transition process to help you avoid a lot of common mistakes we see from time to time. Now, we've got offices throughout the country, so rest assured if you need to sit down with somebody face to face, we can probably take care of that. But obviously in these times we can work with you via webinars, phone calls, fax, email, all that stuff as well. And at the end of the day, if there's anything you take us up on, I would recommend you at least take us up on a cash flow analysis. This is a detailed review where we can take a look at what your goals are for retirement, help you determine the best day to retire and make sure you're on the right track for that. We can also review various retirement dates and various strategies, especially with ConocoPhillips when it comes to deciding what to do on the pension as far as taking it as an annuity or a lump sum. So there's a lot of different options we can look at reviewing for you there. And if it's been over a year since you've done one with us, go ahead and give us a call. We'll be happy to run an update on it because there's been a lot changing with the markets as well as interest rates in the last year or so. Now, today we're going to go over different tax changes, but before I get into that, let's talk a little bit about the Secure Act and some of the changes that took place this last year in 2020. That was signed in December of 2019 and went into effect for 2020. There are about 8 or so different changes that affect 401ks and individuals, but 3 of the biggest ones that we see affecting ConocoPhillips employees are going to be some changes to the required minimum distribution age, some changes to IRA beneficiary options, and then changes to age limits as far as contributions. So let's kind of get into that. Now, first and foremost, one of the big benefits that they did make a positive effect on was actually changing the required minimum distribution age from 70.5 to 72. So we stretched it out another year and a half or so. And what that means is if you don't want to, you're not forced to start taking distributions until you reach age 72 now. What happens is at age 72, whether you need the money or not, the IRS does come knock on the door and they tell you have to take out minimum distributions each year for the rest of your life so they can start taxing you on that. There's a divisor they use to do it, but roughly the first couple of years it starts out close to about 4% or so. Now, the benefit of this change from 70.5 to 72 we'll talk about a little bit later, but it gives you more time to look at Roth conversions, which is a great tax planning strategy, and it's something we do a lot of work with our clients on, trying to help them minimize the taxes now and also throughout retirement and even for their beneficiaries as well. Now, speaking of beneficiaries, one of the negative changes that took place, and unfortunately I've had to go through this twice already in 2020 and once as early as January, right when they changed the law, is the elimination of the stretch IRA for non-spouse beneficiaries. So it still stands if you pass away and you leave everything to your spouse, he or she can still stretch out that IRA over the course of their life expectancy, so they're not forced to take it all out that quickly and pay taxes on it. It used to be that your non-spouse beneficiaries, typically kids in this case for most individuals, would have that same option. However, that's been eliminated and they've gone to a 10-year distribution option. So what happens is they have to get all the money out of that IRA within the first 10 years, whether they're taking it all out at the beginning, all out at the end, or if they want to stretch it out over 10 years, which is the typically what most people are going to do in order to reduce the taxes if they don't need the funds. So best you can do is take out roughly 1/10, give or take, market fluctuations each year. So one of the biggest issues here is a lot of times, even though you may have your spouse as a beneficiary, eventually you may pass on, it goes to your spouse, and then he or she may pass on and leave it to the kids. So at that point it's a non-spouse beneficiary and those kids have to take it out within 10 years, and chances are they might still be working and they might be in a high tax bracket as it is already, which means they're also going to have to take these distributions, and depending upon the size of the account, it could be sizable and it could bump them up into an even higher tax bracket. So this is obviously a money grab for the for Congress and the IRS in this case. but it does introduce some additional tax planning strategies we need to talk about if you are looking to plan to leave something to your beneficiaries. Now, another benefit is that they did away with the age restrictions as far as making contributions to a Roth or a regular IRA. It used to be once you hit RMD age at 70 and a half, you were not able to make any further contributions, but now you can continue to make those after that age. So you may be retired and may work part-time at a hardware store or Home Depot or or Walmart or something like that just for fun. And then that way, if you do have income, you can still put that into a Roth IRA or a regular IRA if you'd like to. So that's another good benefit that they did make changes to. Now we talk about some different tax planning strategies that haven't really changed, but something we do a lot of times with ConocoPhillips employees. We're going to talk a little bit about the rollover process when you do leave the company. Talk about after-tax to Roth options. Just the different tax situations as it comes to taking distributions. Again, touch on RMDs, and then also talk about the tax brackets we have for 2021 at this point. Now, going into the transition for a ConocoPhillips employee, whenever you retire, you've really got three sources of income. You've got your Social Security that you can take anywhere from 62 to age 70. And again, if you have questions on this, give me a call. We can run a Social Security analysis for you to help you determine the best way and best dates to start taking it. Then you've also got your 401k, which you've made contributions to and the company's made contributions to over time. And you've got your defined benefit, your pension plan. Depending upon who you started with, there are some different types of pension plans. We can go through those in the other webinars. But you'll typically have the option of an annuity or a lump sum on that as well. So if you want some more flexibility, you don't want to leave things in the 401k, and you decide to take the pension as a lump sum, you can actually take both of those, the 401k and the pension lump sum, and roll those over to an IRA. So you've got a lot more flexibility as far as investment choices. And then if you need to work with a company like the retirement group or somebody else, you want that help, you've got access to that, which you would not have within the 401k plan as well. And obviously on the pension, if you take the lump sum, you do not want to take that to yourself, because that will be fully taxable, and you'll see a large chunk disappear. So that's why it's better to roll it to an IRA, and then you can take it as you need be. Working with us, there's a lot of ways to link that up to your bank account, so you can set up monthly distributions, bi-weekly. There's a whole variety of different options to look at. So if you have questions on there, just give us a call and we can run through it with you as well. Now, another feature that we do a lot of work with ConocoPhillips employees on and helping them manage taxes is using the spillover after-tax portion of their 401k to actually roll that over to a Roth IRA. This is something that's only been able to do for the last couple of years or so. But what happens is, obviously a lot of people want to make contributions to a Roth IRA because a Roth IRA actually grows tax-free versus simply tax-deferred. So if you can get tax-free growth, that's obviously the best growth you can find. So you want to maximize that. However, the limitations are pretty small on IRA contributions. So a lot of times what happens is when you make contributions to your 401k, you have the choice of a pre-tax or an after-tax basis. If you have put anything in after-tax, or you want to review this process and possibly make after-tax contributions going forward, what happens is that after-tax will start to accumulate, and any earnings from it, if they stay in the 401k, are going to grow tax-deferred, meaning eventually you'll pay taxes on them. However, if you want to take that cost basis and roll that over to a Roth IRA, you can do so. And as long as you keep that in that Roth IRA for at least 5 years and you're over 59 and a half, all the growth in that's going to be tax-free. So let's assume that maybe over the years you've built up, I don't know, $30,000 as an example in your 401k, and maybe you want to put in another $10,000 a year or so. But that $30,000, if you did nothing and you stayed and you worked for another, let's say, 5 years, and it grew by $15,000, that $15,000 of growth would all be taxable within the 401k plan. However, if you had rolled that over to a Roth IRA and got that same $15,000 of growth, it would all be tax-free if it were in a Roth IRA. So there's a lot of different nuances to this, but it's very important to give us a call and we can run through this, because there's definitely a great tax planning strategy here to help actually grow your account tax-free, and it'll also reduce the potential required minimum distributions you may have once you turn 72 as well. Now, as far as getting access to the accounts, there's whether you take money from a 401k or from an IRA, generally speaking, if you take it prior to the age of 59 and a half, you are going to have taxes plus a 10% penalty. However, there are some different differentiation features. A lot of times if you're taking it for like a first-time home purchase, if it's got medical expenses, post-secondary education, things like that, there are ways to get around it. But the two that we see more so if somebody is under 59 and a half and they need to take distributions is first and foremost the age 55 rule, which is something that's only available in 401ks, and it's available in the ConocoPhillips 401k plan. So if you are leaving the company between the year 55 and 59 and a half, and you're talking to another advisor or another firm and they're telling you to roll everything over to their IRA, I would actually take a step back and review that and give us a call, because we're actually going to tell you, obviously at the end of the day, we'd love to work with you and we'd love to help manage your assets, but we're going to tell you to keep money in that 401k plan, because if you leave the company the year you turn 55 or later, you can take withdrawals from that 401k without the 10% penalty. Whereas if you had rolled that over to an IRA, you're going to have to pay a 10% penalty unless you do something else, which is called a 72T, or substantial and equal periodic payment. This is a process where you can avoid the 10% penalty. However, in order to do so, you have to set up a specific income stream for at least 5 years or until you turn 59 and a half, whichever is later. And it's all based upon IRS calculations, and those calculations are pretty small right now. And if you make any mistakes on there, they will be happy to come back and retroactively penalize you on there as well to claw back that 10% penalty. So it's very, very important that if you're doing a 72T, work with a company like the Retirement Group who's got a lot of experience with it, so you can avoid any potential mistakes on there as well. But again, if you're leaving ConocoPhillips at 55 or later and you're not 59 and a half yet, it's probably important to keep at least something in that 401k plan, whether you think you need that money or not, as at least a backstop just in case you do need to access it without that 10% penalty. And then between 59 and a half and age 72, you don't have to actually take any distributions, so it's kind of more of a flexible option. But once we do hit 72, the IRS is going to start forcing us to take those distributions. And again, I mentioned before, it's roughly about 4% or so the first few years. So what happens is, whether you need money or not, you're going to be forced to start taking out about 4% of your portfolio. And depending upon your tax bracket, you'll be taxed at whatever that is. So that's one reason why we talk about managing the required distributions for tax planning strategies between the age of 59 and a half and 72. One of the best ways to do that is to actually look at Roth conversions depending upon your tax bracket, and slowly or quickly, if you want to, getting money out of the IRA or 401k and converting it to a Roth, so that way it'll start to grow tax-free, and it will be out of your IRA for the required minimum distribution once that time comes. Whether you are looking to spend everything down, this is a good option, or if you're looking to pass things on a beneficiary, it becomes an even greater option, because you get more tax-deferred and tax-free growth on that the longer it sits in there. And it's also going to eliminate some of those issues we talked about with the stretch IRA changes for your beneficiaries as well. Now, as far as looking at the tax brackets, let me kind of zoom in here because this is a little bit busy. But for 2021, what we're looking at, the tax brackets came up just a tiny bit, but we still have the pretty sizable standard deductions. But going back to that Roth example I was talking about, let's say that let's take a look at that second row, the 12% tax bracket. If we notice there, it jumps from 12% to 22%. So this is a pretty big jump. It's a 10% jump. So if you happen to be in that 12% bracket, I would argue that that's probably one of the lowest brackets you've ever seen and probably will see in the future. So it's definitely beneficial to take advantage of this. So if we look at the second column for a married couple, the top of that 12% tax bracket is actually a little bit over $81,000. And then you factor in that the standard deduction is over $24,000. That means about $105,000 of AGI is going to be in that 12% tax bracket. So if somebody, let's say for instance that the individuals, this couple we're talking about, maybe they only need $70,000 to live on, that means they have another $35,000 or so that they could actually take out and only pay 12% on it. And I'd argue that it would make sense to actually take that $30,000 out or so, convert it to a Roth IRA, pay the 12%, and now that will grow tax-free as long as they keep it there for at least 5 years. And if they do this periodically, year by year, then you can slowly divest from that IRA or 401k and reduce that required distribution coming up at age 72. Now, there's no limitations to this. It used to be you can only do $100,000 per year, but those have been lifted. We'll see if they come back. So if you got the stomach to do it, in theory, you could convert $1 million if you wanted to. But obviously, it's going to kick you up in the highest tax bracket. You're not going to, you're going to lose some to taxes, but it'll get it out of that IRA more rapidly and allow you to grow that tax-free as well. But it's very important to run a detailed break-even analysis when looking at this. And For most of our clients, we tend to look at this come October, November, so that way we have an idea of what's happened over the course of the year. So there's no surprises or gotchas as far as other income needs that come about. But this is again, specific strategy that's very, very beneficial in helping you minimize taxes and eliminate them in some cases for yourself and your beneficiaries down the road. Now, at the end of the day, unfortunately, about 3/4 of Americans over 50 don't have a written plan as far as that retirement planning process and their cash flow analysis. Like I said before, you can take us up on a complimentary one. If you can spend about maybe 10 minutes with us just to either gather or update the information that we have on you already, get some information like the 401k balance, pension, what your spending needs are, retirement date goals, and things like that. We can put together that cash flow analysis, have it back to you within 2 weeks or so, and it'll be an extremely detailed plan to show you where you stand. And the benefit there is we can also help you determine different dates to retire, to go through and show you side-by-side comparisons as far as what may be the best day to retire and how it looks not just now, but in 10, 20, 30 years down the road. Also get you side-by-side comparisons of the pension lump sum versus the annuity, so you can make those decisions as well. Now, at the end of the day, obviously we'd love to work with you. We'd love to make you clients. If you're working with somebody else already, that's great. Hopefully they're taking care of you. But we do recommend getting a second opinion periodically. We even recommend our own clients do this from time to time just to keep us on our toes. But if you are working with somebody, make sure they have a deep understanding of the ConocoPhillips benefits plans and the potential changes, because again, we've seen even individuals with advisors make some pretty big mistakes, costing $30,000, $40,000, even $100,000 in some cases. So it's very important to make sure you know the plan in detail. Make sure you understand their fee structure. Everybody's going to have fees. It's just a matter of are you getting what you're paying for? How high are they? What type of services are you getting? We are fiduciaries, so we are transparent on our fee structure. We're not a one-size-fits-all firm where everybody goes into the same cookie-cutter approach. Our goal is to go through that cash flow analysis and back into what you're trying to achieve, then provide you different choices and options as to how to achieve that, and go through the pros and cons with you on it as well. And then figure out what is you value, and make sure that you find a team that focuses on that, and make sure you find a team. Myself, the other advisors here, we can't do everything, so we do rely on the back office support of the investment management team at the retirement group and Charles Schwab, who we clear through, and also the support back there as well. And at the end of the day, you need to run that cash flow analysis before anybody makes a recommendation to you. And you need to make sure you run it from a conservative standpoint, so that way there's no surprises. You don't want to be too optimistic and make mistakes on the planning there as well. And then if you have any questions, obviously we'd welcome you to give us a call or shoot us an email or schedule an appointment with us. You can reach us at info@theretirementgroup.com, or you can call us at 1-800-900-5867. If you're tech savvy, we've got a couple QR codes up here. You just want to hold your cell phone up to it. There's one where you can schedule a meeting with myself or any of the other advisors. It'll get you into our calendars. Or you can also follow us on LinkedIn so you can be updated when we have future webinars that are specific to ConocoPhillips, or if there's any plan changes that we need to update you on. So with that, I want to thank everybody. I want to just go ahead and double check, see if there are any questions. Again, remember that Q&A, if you put that in there, it is anonymous, and I'll be happy to address it. If we don't get to every question, just give us a call or shoot us an email, and we'll be happy to address it as well. But a lot of this information is probably more beneficial in a one-on-one conversation. So got a few questions come through. The first one, it looks like, how will the Secure Act affect my tax planning? I went over some of this already, but again, some of the key changes that definitely affect that tax planning is the change in the stretch IRA options for the beneficiaries. So it's really kind of a one-on-one situation depending upon what your beneficiary structure is, but I definitely recommend that you review your beneficiaries and give us a call, and we can run through and kind of paint the picture as to what the different pros and cons are and how that could potentially play out for you. But it's definitely important to review that beneficiary, and then we can talk about some different strategies to rectify some of the potential issues you could run into. The other benefit is that again, the movement of the RMD from 70.5 to 72, that again gives you an extra 1.5 years or so of some tax planning strategies. So going back to that Roth conversion, and there's some other strategies that we didn't go through today, but on a one-on-one basis we can go through with you. So just give us a call and we can go through that. But there are some good and bad changes with that Secure Act, as we mentioned. And then another one, when does a Roth IRA make sense? To me, honestly, a Roth IRA always makes sense because you're getting tax-free growth out of it. If I had a choice, I would obviously want tax-free growth. It's the only way you can actually get it on legal terms. So what happens is, generally speaking, if you want to make a contribution to a regular Roth IRA, those contributions are smaller, and there are limitations as far as based upon your income, where you may actually not even be eligible to make those contributions. But if you can make a Roth contribution, you have the funds to do so, max that out so you get that tax-free growth for the rest of your life until you decide to touch it. And then obviously we talked again earlier in the slides about the after-tax spillover within the ConocoPhillips 401k plan. Give me a call and we can run through a strategy and help you determine ways to actually kind of a backdoor strategy to max out a Roth IRA much more than what the IRS allows by making after-tax contributions into the 401k plan and then rolling them over to a Roth IRA. You can do that year by year, so that way you're able to grow that Roth IRA more rapidly. The other option for the Roth IRA we mentioned again was doing conversions. Like I said, you can convert as little as you want or as much as you want right now. It's just however much you convert is going to count as a taxable distribution for the given year. So it's really important to review those tax strategies and look at those side by side. But again, I would argue that if you can the more you get into a Roth IRA, the better, because again, the future growth is tax-free, and we can only assume tax brackets are going to be higher than where they are today. And then we got one more, and then we'll wrap it up. What is my NUA on ConocoPhillips stock? So I just want to remind everybody that we didn't go through it in detail here, but NUA is net unrealized appreciation, and it's the ability to actually pay long-term capital gains on the growth of your ConocoPhillips stock. So what happens is, really we just see this on the ConocoPhillips leverage stock and the Phillips 66 leverage stock, unless you've been trading and got into the common stock at different times. But what's going to happen is with both those leverage stocks, you get a very low cost basis, and the value of it right now is a lot higher. So what happens is if you didn't do anything, you just rolled over your money to an IRA or took withdrawals from the 401k, anything in there is going to be taxable unless it was after-tax contributions, and you're going to pay taxes on it based upon whatever your tax bracket is at that time. With NUA, what you can do is you can actually you can move that over to a brokerage account instead of an IRA. This is the leverage stock we're talking about. You pay ordinary income taxes on the cost basis, which is a lower amount. So let's just do an example. Let's say that somebody's got $10,000 of cost basis, and maybe the stock is worth $100,000. So what happens is they would pay taxes on that $10,000 of the leverage stock right now, and then the growth, that $100,000 will go into a brokerage account. Then the growth of $90,000, they will not pay tax on that until they actually sell it. And when they do so, it'll be long-term capital gains, which right now is either 0, 15%, or 20%. Again, there's conversation about possibly changing that, so this could change. But generally speaking, historically, long-term capital gains has always been lower than your ordinary income tax. So for a lot of individuals, this may save 7, 9%, or even 10, 15% on taxes. So in that example, it could save $10,000 or more. But give me a call. We can go through this, and we can run an NUA analysis for you to show you. All we need is a copy of your recent 401k statement. We can show you exactly what you're going to be looking at there as well. So again, I want to thank everybody for taking a little bit of time to join me today. And I want to remind you, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to give us a call. Again, it's 1-800-900-5867. I want to thank you and hope everybody stays safe.